Hey guys, alright, y'all aren't gonna believe what I've got on here. Sucker is huge. Alright, hang on, let me see if I can get to it. There we go. Come here. I'm just kidding, it's a tree pounder. Hi guys, how's it going? Welcome back to Lifetime Angler. So today what I wanted to do is, I've been out here, it's kind of a gloomy day. Had to actually get the jacket out, had to work earlier this morning, but anyway, out here playing around, casting a little bit, practicing, and what I thought I'd do is I'd go over a video and explain how to use a bait caster, how to cast, and not get a whole lot of backlash, if any at all. Kind of for you guys getting into bait caster or guys that have a bad time with backlash. So what we're going to do is we're first going to talk about the settings on a bait caster, and then we'll come back and we'll go through the actual motions of how to cast and things you can do to help alleviate any problems with backlashing that you may have. Now, I won't guarantee that you won't ever get any more backlash out of this, but it will significantly cut down on the amount of times that you've got to sit there and cut an entire spool of line off because it looks like a bird's nest from who knows where. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. Alrighty guys, so starting out with the bait caster, you're going to have a knob here on the side. This is going to be your spool tension. This will be your drag, your reel. This is going to be your spool release to let the spool down. And then over here you're going to have a brake system. I'm going to recommend starting out, just set your brakes right in the middle. If you have 1 to 10, put them at 5. If you have 1 to 5, put them at 3, so on and so forth. You can do that math. You don't need me to tell you that. What you're going to play with the most is going to be this spool tension here. If you can see that rod tip, when I let this spool go, that bait drops. Now, if we tighten that, I'll try to get them both in the same frame, you can see that that slows way down. That right there, it's probably a foot every second and a half to 2 seconds is where I'm going to have you start. It's going to limit how far you can cast, but as you get the motions down, back it off about a foot a second, foot every half second. You'll be able to get a little more distance out of it and still be able to maintain and control that spool without the line getting all tangled up. Okay, so now that you've got your spool tension set to where you want it, and your brake system set right there in the middle, that's really what you want to mess with to begin with. Second thing I'm going to recommend, or first thing, however you want to look at it, whether you use a weight, a lure like a jig that I'm using today, a casting dummy, whatever it is that you start off learning with, make sure it has a little bit of weight to it. If you go right into trying to cast with a weightless lure, it's just going to add difficulty onto it. But what we're going to have is we're going to have the casting motion, which is going to be more of a sidearm, and then we're going to have control of the spool with our thumb. So your casting motion, I like to take it from about, I don't know, parallel with me, maybe a little further back, and come forward and point towards my target. Now, you'll notice when I do it, I will start, come back, and then I'm going to smoothly accelerate forward. You don't need to jerk or be real fast, just a smooth acceleration forward. A lot of it is in the wrist. You don't need a second hand back here adding to it or anything like that. So I'll go ahead, kind of give you an idea there. I've got this jig on here. It's going to catch every blade of grass there is out here. Now, the next thing we need to talk about is what we do with our thumb here, because our thumb is going to allow the line to start to leave the spool as well as stop it when it's time. So you're going to start off, and right about here, is that right? Yeah, right about here, when that lure starts to see if I can demonstrate it. That lure starts to pass back in front of the rod. That's where you want to let go of it. Now, once that lure is approaching the water again, you want to slowly ease your thumb down onto it. People call it feathering. Call it whatever you want. Just what you don't want to do is you don't want to slam your thumb down, but at the same time you do need to make contact to start to slow that spool down. But I do want to show you something, guys. That's about how far or how fast that jig is dropping. And even if I sling this out there, there's no backlash to that. Now, get my lure back here. Now, where people come into trouble, can't believe I'm going to do this. This brake does need changed. I'm going to loosen that off. I'm going to back these brakes off. We'll do the same thing. And yeah. So there is a lot to do with your settings. But that's going to be one thing, and I might be able to get this undone here. I might not. The other thing is, guys, do not just go to pulling on this if you're trying to undo one. There we go. If you're trying to untangle backlash, pick at it from the spool rather than just trying to yank it out. You yank it out, you're going to damage your line, dig things in. It's just not going to be pretty at all. Let's set that back to where we want it. And that worked good enough. Now, something to keep in mind is your tension adjustment. If you change lures, let's say you go from a 1/4 ounce jig like this to a 3/4 ounce jig, you need to tighten that spool. Depending on the weight of this lure, that tension's here not going to be enough, or it's going to be too much. Now, the other deal is, as your lure hits, let's say you get a little bit of backlash. A lot of times you'll notice me, that lure will hit, and I'm going to lift my rod up a little bit and then bring it back down. That's doing two things for me. One, when I lift that rod, my thumb is off the spool, letting line come back out. So if there is just a little bit of backlash there at the end that I tend to get, especially when I'm pitching, then that'll pull that backlash out 99% of the time. The other thing that does is, by giving that lure that little bit of extra slack, it's going to let that lure drop straight down rather than pendulum back towards you and pulling it away from your casting target. So guys, that's really all there is to a baitcaster. Don't be intimidated by them. If y'all like this, go ahead, hit the like button. It's what it's there for. If you want to see more content, if you want to stay up to date with what we're doing, if you want to see us out on the water or learn more things here and there, hit the subscribe button. But other than that, until next time, y'all stay safe and tight lines.